Hello and welcome back to another episode of Your Pennsylvania Dutch Minute. I have a very different type of video this week. I am coming to you with an interview that I just recently had with Sarah Gath. Sarah Gath reached out to me in an email a couple weeks ago, alerting me to a situation that was currently going on in my home area of Berks County. There are, as many of you know, hundreds of small old family cemeteries found on farms throughout Berks County and the other surrounding counties as well. Lehigh County, Chester, Montgomery, Bucks, Lebanon, these Lancaster. Of course, when families had the farms, they would have a small corner of the farm that would eventually turn into the family cemetery. Over the years, some of these cemeteries have been preserved and saved. Sadly, some have been lost. Currently, Berks County and Lehigh County are going through a very rapid development. I don't even know how else to say it, but a lot of things are being built currently in that area of Pennsylvania, particularly large warehouses. And that is the reason that Sarah came to me. She is aware of the Kemp family cemetery that was located right along Route 222, where it junctions with Hottenstein Road, not too far from Kutztown, where a massive warehouse project is currently being in the process of being developed. And of course, as is always the case, the developers have no plans to save the cemetery. So Sarah reached out and said, would you be willing to put something on your YouTube channel to help me in my fight to save this cemetery? So without further ado, here is my interview with Sarah. We did via Zoom at the end of December, telling you a little bit more about what's going on. It is an 300-year-old cemetery, and what's really important is, of course, there are graves in the cemetery, but there are some very important people buried in the cemetery, particularly Captain George L. Kemp, whose farm was there, and Captain Kemp had commanded a local company of militia in the Revolutionary War. And Sarah will also allude to the fact that this area where the cemetery is now located, after the defeat at the Battle of Germantown, the Patriot Army retreated to this part of Pennsylvania and in fact regrouped and got their spirits back up right here at the Kemp farm and at the Kemp Hotel, which was located there on that premises, and it is even mentioned in President John Adams's diary of the era. So this is not only a historic cemetery, but this land is historic, period. Eyewitness to the Revolutionary War hero buried in the cemetery, and we are now in the process of trying to save, we meaning a lot of people, not just Sarah, trying to save this historic cemetery. So without further ado, here is my interview with Sarah Gath to tell you all about the Kemp Cemetery and its hopeful survival. Okay. Hey everybody, I am here with Sarah Gath, who has reached out to the video and to our YouTube channel about a very important issue that she is currently working on in Pennsylvania Dutch country. And I'm going to turn it over to Sarah. Hello, Sarah, and welcome to Your Pennsylvania Dutch Minute.
Thank you. So basically, here's the situation. I need the help of you and all of your viewers in trying to save a piece of our heritage that's at risk of being destroyed right now. There's a big warehouse proposal that's going down in Maxitani Township. And it's basically threatening a local PA Dutch cemetery of destruction because they see it as basically being in their way and they want to get rid of it and move it so that they can put up a 300-acre warehouse complex. Now, in theory, by law, the next of kin are supposed to be notified, but in this case, that's not happening at all because the developer hired an outside company to research basically the cemetery, and their way of doing it is they took the last person in the family that owned the land, which was about 100 years ago, and they showed that that person has no living descendants, but they never bothered to do that for anybody else who's buried in the cemetery. So you've got somewhere between 1 and 2 dozen burials that we know of, possibly more, going back 300 years, and there's quite a bit of descendants in not just Berks County, but the whole country. And most of the next of kin who are alive probably have no idea I wouldn't be surprised if most of them have no idea they even descend from these people, because if you think about it, most people don't know who their great grandparents are, much less further back than that. So when you're dealing with 300 years of family growth, I mean, that's a lot of people who really don't even know that they need to be standing up for their family's graves right now, because time is of the essence, and there's really a very limited window here in which the family can do anything if they want to protect their family's graves. And oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just real quick for the people watching. Some of the family names that are in this cemetery, of course, are Kemp, which is what was the original landowner, I guess, for that tract of land. What are some of the other last names that are found in this cemetery that we know of?
Well, most of the people who are buried there are Kemps, but the Kemp family over the years has grown to include a lot of different families from our region. I've actually got a list of some of the more common last names for descendants of this family. And you've got the Trexlers, Haas, Bieber, Grimm, Kutz, Wink, Haynes, Butts, DeLong, Hoffman, Miller, Levon, Siegfried, Warline, Wortman, Snyder, Wagenhurst, Watts, Dietrich. I mean, there's almost every PA Dutch name you can think of at this point.
That's what I was thinking as you were naming those names. That is a list of really popular last names in southeastern Pennsylvania for sure, and among the Pennsylvania Dutch. So we're having this conversation at the end of December, and this video is going to come out in early January. So what if somebody wants to get involved and try and save this cemetery, what is the next step that needs to happen, or what should somebody do?
Well, the most important thing is if you think you could possibly be related to the family, either because you recognize some of the names involved, or maybe you've got an oral tradition in your family, like maybe your grandfather mentioned the cemetery at some point or something like that, you can go to my website, which is burkeskemps.com. And if you do that, you can read about what I've researched from this family. And then you can scroll down, and I've got 3 different descent charts, if you will, one for each of the Kemp siblings, because you've got Captain George L. Kemp, who is buried there, that is definitively known, the headstone survives. And then I've done a different set of descent charts for his sister Gertrude, who married into the Wink family. And then I have just recently discovered a third line that descends from one of their sisters. And their family stayed in Pennsylvania only briefly before they moved to Ohio, and that's where the Warline family comes in. As far as I know, that family's never been researched before until now. So I'm pretty sure they have no idea that they even connect to this. Because like there was a reverend about 100 years ago who did a history of Pennsylvania that tried to research that family and basically lost touch with them once they moved to Sunbury. So if you click on any of those 3 descent links, you can click on a page which will give you a list of last names. It's a surname list. And you can scroll through that to see if you recognize any of those last names. And if you do, then you can hit the back button and click on the next link, which will take you to the full chart, which will give you full names, dates of birth, dates of death, places of birth, places of death. And that would give you something you could scroll through or search through using your browser. And that would allow you to find out if you recognize a name from somebody in your family. Because if you are connected to this, either as a direct descendant or possibly as a cousin, well, now you've got some legal rights that you can take advantage of if you want to advocate for these graves. Because in theory, by law, they're supposed to be able to relocate this grave, all these graves, if the court gives them permission to do so. But there's a lot of problems associated with that, because when you're dealing with moving a 300-year-old cemetery, chances are you're not going to find everybody who's buried there, because time's passed, things have decayed, and even if you follow proper procedures, which, well, there's very little oversight to make sure that even happens. I've seen this over and over again when doing genealogy and history, where everybody gets dumped in a mass grave in a modern cemetery somewhere, headstones get lost or broken, not everybody gets found, and it becomes a whole mess. It's a whole can of worms. And that's before you get into the ethical and religious and cultural ramifications of disturbing graves just because somebody thinks it happens to be in their way. And this family, whether they knew it previously to now or not, had a tremendous role in U.S. and Pennsylvania history. I mean, we're dealing with two generals in terms of their descendants, the wives of two more generals, an admiral, 60 doctors, 18 reverends, 3 Pennsylvania state representatives, 1 congressman, a mayor of Allentown, and the sergeant who played taps for Theodore Roosevelt Jr. in Normandy. So, I mean, they accomplished a great many things. They've played a huge role in our history, and we need to stand up for them now.
Do we have any idea as to when a decision at the court level is going to take place?
Some of it has already taken place. I can't talk too much about it because I don't know how much is public information.
Okay.
But gist of it is they've already been going to court to get this ball moving. And so most people have already lost out on their window, if you will, to where this is going to be a lot more difficult for people who care about it to do something about it. Because the system assumes that people are notified. And even when this is done correctly, the notification that the law requires in a practical real world sense doesn't work. And that's a fault of our laws. It's not necessarily a fault of the developer. It's that Pennsylvania's cemetery protections are extremely weak compared to other states, to where under normal circumstances, they might be able to get away with just putting an ad in the classified legal section of the local newspaper saying, here's a bunch of names. If you recognize any of them, contact us, or something vague like that. And then if somebody doesn't know who their ancestors are, they're not going to know to care. And beyond that, nobody reads the legal section of newspapers. Absolutely nobody reads it. So in theory, they're notifying people if they go through those types of procedures, but in the real world, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for bringing light to this issue. I will post a link to your website that you mentioned, and also, if you're okay with it, your email in case anybody wants to reach out and send you an email in regards to any of this. And hopefully somebody out there watching this video will be able to find a link, you know, in the sense of the genealogy and find out that they are a direct descendant, and hopefully be able to do something to save this cemetery.
Okay, my email is sgath92@yahoo.com, which you can also find from the bottom of the website. The website again is burkeskemps.com.
I will post links to all of that in the video show notes down below. And this is not a solo issue throughout Berks County, Montgomery County, Chester County, and these areas where we have these family cemeteries that date back, like you said, 300 years. It really is for a lot of them hanging on by a nail to save these cemeteries from development, from just natural decay because people don't keep up with them. So I just want to applaud you for the work that you're putting in here with this particular cemetery. But everyone needs to know that there are many cemeteries like this one out there in southeastern PA that need help too. So I'll also put a link to a group that does a lot with cemetery preservations in Berks County particularly, and hopefully that will, you know, help some people make some connections and can get involved in this very important work.
And in this case, the cemetery is even extra important because of its role in the Revolutionary War.
Correct.
The captain, George L. Kemp, that I mentioned, his farm, which is where the cemetery is located, which is by the intersection of Route 222 and Hoppenstein Road. That's where the Patriot Army regrouped after their defeat at Germantown. They basically fled to Kutztown to recover and to regroup. And President Adams talks in his diary about being entertained by the Kemp family at that location at the Tavern Kemp, known as the Kemp Hotel. And after the Patriots kind of got over their defeat, they marched along modern-day 222 to Allentown to escape the British, which puts them going directly in front of that cemetery to get out of there.
Right.
So when you're standing in that cemetery, you're standing in a scene from our Revolutionary War history.
Yeah, absolutely. 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 Sarah, I can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing. Hopefully someone out there, like I said earlier, will be able to help you out and get something rolling here and hopefully stop this development from happening any farther and moving these graves and preserving this very historic cemetery in Berks County. Thank you, Sarah. Again, we'll post information to her website, to her email address, and you can reach out to Sarah if you have any more questions or concerns, or hey, I am a descendant of this guy or these people in this family, in this cemetery, and then she can hopefully get in contact with you and keep fighting to save this cemetery. Thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we'll be able to get at least one or two people out of this video that can help you.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
So I hope you enjoyed my interview with Sarah. It's really a touching story. Of course, someone having grown up in that part of Berks County and having spent a lot of time there and having descendants that owned farms, or having not descendants, but having family that owned farms all around that cemetery. I know the value of preserving these historic family cemeteries. So if you know in any way, shape, or form that you might be a descendant or that you are a descendant of George Kemp or any of the other family names that Sarah mentioned in the interview, please check out her website. I have a link in the show notes. It is berkskemps.com, BERKSKEMPS.com. Check out her website like she mentioned in the interview. I will also include her email address, sgath, SGATH, 92@yahoo.com, so that you can directly reach out to her. And also, I'm including a link to the Berks County Cemetery Preservation Society. I might have got that name mixed up, but I'll make sure it's correct in the show notes. And they are a group that is dedicated to preserving these old family cemeteries, particularly in Berks County. It is a mission that all of us should feel moved to participate in. These are our grandparents, our great-great-great-grandparents. They should stay at rest in peace, in my opinion. I'm a little opinionated when it comes to this kind of stuff. Development be damned. I said it. But you have the opportunity, if you know you are a descendant or someone that wants to get involved in this mission. Reach out, check out her website, email her if you want, and I will keep you all updated as I get news about the development or the survival of the cemetery, or hopefully not, but the destruction of the cemetery. I will keep all of you guys updated and let you know what is going on. Until next time, if you have a question about something Pennsylvania Dutch, or if you know of something that my viewers would love to know about or to get involved in, like Sarah did. She knew, I got Pennsylvania Dutch people on this channel. This is something that is speaking probably directly to them. So if you have an issue like that you'd like to bring awareness to, email me. Or if you have a question about anything Pennsylvania Dutch, email me as well, and I'll do a future video about whatever it is you want to learn about or whatever it is you want to fight for. In the meantime, keep practicing your Pennsylvania Dutch. Be proud of being Pennsylvania Dutch, and don't be afraid to tell people about it. It's the 21st century. Do it. I do all the time. Until next time, keep practicing your Pennsylvania Dutch, and mock scoot.
Mock